So the final example before you start actually doing some problems on your own is one in which we're actually given not the graph, but we're given a function defined without the graph, and we can answer questions about the graph based on just given the function. So for example 3, we're looking at the function, this guy right here, find the domain of f. So we've done that before, and so just a quick reminder of how to do that. We have a fraction, so what the thought process that goes behind figuring out what this is we have a fraction. Okay, so you should be thinking this is a rational function, and rational functions sometimes have zeros in the denominators, and this is no exception, where x plus 2, when x plus 2 is equal to 0, the function does not exist, and so x just cannot equal, let me back up, x plus 2 cannot equal 0. And so when we subtract 2 from both sides, we see that x is not allowed to equal -2. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind, that x cannot equal -2. So that's basically all real numbers x. So to answer the question, the domain of the function f is all real numbers x such that x cannot equal -2. If you're really enjoying that interval notation, you could write it like this: -infinity to -2. Combined with the interval from, I ran out of room here, combined with the interval from -2 to infinity, and let me squeeze that x back in there and clean this up a little bit. Alright, and you maybe don't like that little line there. Alright, so then that takes care of part A. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. So part B is the point 1, 1/2 on the graph of f. Some of you might know how to do that. Some of you might be looking at, well, how would I know? I don't see the graph. Well, keep in mind the last video we talked about if a point is on the graph, it means that the x and the y satisfy the equation. Okay, and so for part B, I'll do that down here. Oops, what happened there? I'll do that down here. Part B, if 1, 1/2 is on the graph, that means that f of 1 would be equal to 1/2. And so it's still a question. We're not sure yet. But let's take a look at what f of x is. And remember, it's written up there. So f of x is equal to x plus 1 over x plus 2. So if 1, 1/2 is on the graph, it means that f of 1 would be 1/2. Well, f of 1, using this rule here, would be 1. Let me do this. Let me change that to a red so you can kind of see that. Because we're going to put 1 right there in place of x, and I know some of you are looking at this going, oh my gosh, I know what this is, but I want to make sure that everybody gets it, okay? So just bear with me. 1 plus 1 over 1 plus 2. And so the question is f of 1 equal to 1/2? Well, all we have to do is simplify this, and we get 2/3. So the answer is no, it's not. Because when the input is 1, the output is actually 2/3 and not 1/2. Okay, so the answer to part B is no. If it were on the graph, the 1 and 1/2 would satisfy the equation. Okay, so then part C, if x equals 2, what is f of x? Okay, so it's basically, this section, guys, is just really asking you the same question in a bunch of different ways. This is no exception. Alright, I think I said that before, so that's the last time. If x equals 2, what is f of x? So what this question is really asking is, what is f of 2? Okay, well, f of 2 is equal to 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 2. And 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 2 is 3 over 4. So that is f of 2. So that's the output. What point is on the graph of f? That's the output when x is 2. So therefore, the point that input-output corresponds to would be input of 2, output of 3 over 4. Okay? For some people, they look at these like, well, yeah, that's exactly right, but trust me, there are plenty of people that have a hard time making sense of all the different vocabulary, and that's what this lesson's all about. Part D, if f of x equals 2, what is x? Well, here's the thing. F of x being 2 means the output is 2. That means that x plus 1 over x plus 2 has a value of 2. Well, that's an equation that has only one variable in it, so all you have to do is solve that equation for x. And that's what it's asking. Part D here is asking what is x? And then what point does that xy correspond to? So the way we solve this equation is we multiply both sides by, or we can do cross multiplying if we want. Multiply both sides by x plus 2, same thing as cross multiplying. The x plus 2's cancel, and I'm running out of room here. I get x plus 1 equals, I'm going to distribute this 2 to both of these terms, equals 2x plus 4. And then if I subtract x from both sides, and I'm also going to subtract 4 from both sides at the same time, and then I need to move myself over here. We've got 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Negative 3 equals, and then 2x minus x is equal to x. So x is equal to negative 3. But again, you have to read all parts of every question. It said, what point does this, let me see, I'm not looking at it. What point is on the graph of f? And this is where it's easy to make a mistake here, so be really careful. So we could say, therefore, if we look at the input is negative 3. And the output, remember the output? That was way back here. That's 2. So the input is negative 3, the output is 2, and so therefore the point negative 3, 2 is the point on the graph of f that corresponds to that situation. Okay. Now, what are the x-intercepts? I'm looking at part E. What I'm going to do here is erase some of this stuff, and I hope that doesn't mess you up. So if it does, make sure you have everything written down, because like I said, I'm going to erase this. Okay, I'm going to erase. Shoot, I've got. I'll explain later. I have to do this. I'm going to erase some of this here, there, erase. So I have some space here for part E. Okay, there we go. And then what color should I use? Alright, so what are the x-intercepts of the graph of f, if any? Well, if we have x-intercepts, what does that mean? That means that x is 0 or y is 0. That's right, it means that y is 0. So for part E, it means that y equals 0 when x plus 1 over x plus 2 is equal to 0. And we talked about what makes a fraction equal to 0. Well, the only thing that can happen to make a fraction equal to 0 is if the numerator is equal to 0. So y equals 0 and that equals 0, and then we just set the numerator equal to 0, and we can see that x is equal to negative 1. So that's our only x-intercept. And then it says what points are on the graph of f. Well, we keep going back to that. If the x-coordinate is negative 1 and the y-coordinate is 0, then we have the ordered pair negative 1, 0. Alright. So I hope that helps, and then you're going to get some chances to practice, and let me tell you what those are. Alright, so this next part here, oh yeah, just a summary right here is very, very important here, guys. Graph of a function is the collection of points that satisfies the equation, and we already know the vertical line test, but if you want something written down, there it is. Okay, so what I want you to do is answer these questions here. 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no 5, but then there's a 6, 7, 8. These problems come from page 76. So if you have your book, you can look at these. I have the answers at the end of this, and you can look at those yourself, except for numbers 1 and 2. So pause the video. And the answer for number 1, the intercepts of the equation here, x-intercepts means that let y equals 0. So when y equals 0, x squared is 16, so x is equal to plus or minus 4. So those are the x-intercepts. Okay. When x equals 0, we get 4y squared equals 16. And we get y squared by dividing both sides by 4. We get y squared equals 4. So we get y equals plus or minus 2. Okay. So these are, again, x-intercepts here. I should write that. And then over here we have y-intercepts. These are the only answers, by the way, that are not in the back of the book. Number 2, think to yourself, true or false, the point -2, -6 is on the graph of the equation, this guy here. And pause the video if you already paused it and answered this, then just pay attention. So x is equal to -2, y is equal to -6. So if this ordered pair makes this statement true, then we're good. So the question is that 2 times -6 is -12, and then -12 minus 2 is certainly not -2, so this would be false. Okay. These other questions, by the way, so hopefully if you've answered these, then check the back, check the last page. I'm going to show that in a second, and I'm going to show you the other problem I want you to do as well. So anyway, your job before you come into class on Monday, tomorrow in this case, is to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 problems, and then this problem as well. This is also a problem from page 76, and it's number 9. So when you answer all the questions here, A through N, then check the answers on this next page, and here's the next page. So you can see problems 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then 9A through N are on here at the top of the page, right up there somewhere. Okay, so there you go. I'll see you in class.